2010. I'm also president of the School District Governance Association. And I'm sure there's other things I do that are related to this stuff also. I've been a proponent for school choice for a long time. This isn't about me though, this is about my husband, Ian Underwood, who'll be giving this talk tonight. And we're actually part of a new organization, right? That's the other one I'm involved in, the Coalition for Fairness in Education. We're carefully choosing the word fairness for the name of this organization. Which, Ian, are you going to talk about that a little? That's going to talk about fairness. I'm just going to talk about fairness. And this all came about because of the presentations that Andrew Valinsky has been doing around the state, talking about fairness in education funding, school funding. And we went to one of the first talks he did out in Newport, and I mean, it was just shocking. He didn't talk about achievement at all. Like, it's not about the children. It was just fascinating. So, go to the website. Ian's going to be posting the URL for that at some point or other during the talk. And the website is NH, right? It's schoolfundingshellgame.org. Yeah, schoolfundingshellgame.org. There's a lot of content up there about what is fair and how should funding be. Come on in. There's still some seats. I see them. And Cheryl, Cheryl, thank you so much for inviting me in to do this.
Oh, our pleasure.
And do you want to say anything about you want people to sign up? You probably know.
Yeah, well, we have our email sign-up sheet. If anybody wants to sign up for Northwood GOP emails, we meet the second Monday of every month at 7 p.m. right here.
Great. And I want to thank Skip for doing this at the last minute, for coming in and recording it. So it is being recorded, although are you going to post this anywhere? It's going to be posted, so watch what you say.
Or not.
Or not. And with that, I'm going to turn over to Ian.
If I swear, they won't put it on Facebook, right?
Yeah, right.
Hi. Thanks for having me. The title of the talk is School Funding in 3 Graphs and 2 Jokes. It's an extended...
Do you want the lights off? Or on?
Yeah, let's try that and see how this is working.
Skip, let us know how that. You see the graph.
Can you see okay?
Oh, yeah.
Everything all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is an extended version of some testimony that I gave down in Concord for one of the education committees. And feel free to ask questions. It'll keep you more involved. It'll be more fun for me. So we'll start with the first joke. A guy walks into a kitchen just in time to see his wife cut off the end of a roast and throw it away. And he's like, so why are you throwing away the end of the roast? And she says, I don't know, that's what my mom always did. And they say, well, why'd your mom do it? They call her up and say, Mom, why'd you always cut off the end of the roast? And she said, well, I don't know, that's what my mom always did. So they call up the grandmother and say, Grandma, why'd you always cut off the end of the roast? And she says, well, my roaster was too small. Okay, and I love this joke because to me it explains about 1/3 of all politics and about 90% of what happens with school policy. What are we going to do next year? Well, whatever we did this year. What do we do this year? Well, whatever we did last year, without stopping to really think about it. But the beauty of the joke is that it reminds us that it's important every once in a while to stop and ask, why are we doing what we're doing? Right? Are we actually solving a problem that we have? Do we still have that problem? Did we ever have that problem? Because maybe we didn't. And it's important, especially important, to ask that question when your solutions to your problem are bankrupting you, which is the situation we're in now. So with regards to school, if you stop and look at it, it turns out that schools are a solution to a problem of scarcity. If you live in a world where books are expensive, things like chalkboards and chalk and paper and pens and teachers are hard to find and expensive, it makes a lot of sense to send all the kids to one central place where they can share those things. In much the same way it used to make sense if you wanted to play a video game, nobody could afford, the whole console, so you would go to an arcade so you could share that thing. But that is not the world we live in, right? In the world we live in, you are surrounded by educational resources. If you have an internet connection, you have a smartphone or a laptop, You have instant access to everything that anybody has ever known. And more importantly, you have people lining up to teach you anything that you want to learn, often for free, just for the joy of teaching you. So we don't really have the problem anymore that schools solve. And so we can actually make a prediction. We can ask this question. We can say, if in general you take money and throw it at a solution to a problem you don't have, what should you expect to see? And you can make a prediction. You can say, well, we would expect to see the amount of money we spend go up, and we should expect to see the results we get not change, because we're not actually solving the problem that we have. And in fact, that's what we see. First graph. So this is from the Cato Institute, which is, you know, a conservative libertarian group, but this is using only the government's own data, their NAEP scores, their spending data. Okay? So it's not like this is cherry-picked data. And the interesting thing about this is these dollars, so what we see here is the amount spending. This is sort of the total over the lifetime of a student, K to 12. And here we see the NAEP scores. All right? And so in inflation-adjusted dollars, what we see is we've tripled spending, and this is since around 1970, and gotten no improvement in achievement, as measured by the people who claim to be trying to fix things. So what's interesting about that is it tells you that more money is not the answer, right? Just throwing more money at this thing, we tripled spending, got no value. It's not and this is over, right? This is a long time. This is a lot of data. This is generations of children. This is changes in pedagogy. This is multiple technological revolutions. Spending goes up, achievement stays flat, which, as I said, is exactly what we would expect. So that raises an interesting question. If more money isn't the answer, well, how much money is the answer? And that takes us to the second graph. So what are we looking at? This is on the, actually do have a laser pointer, right? On the vertical axis we have NAEP scores. This particular graph is for 4th grade reading, but it doesn't matter which test or which grade level you choose. They all look like this. And across here is the amount of money that states are spending per student per year.
Can I interrupt for a second? I'm sorry. Does everybody know what the NAEP test is? Do you want to? No?
You want to say?
They call it the Nation's Report Card. It's a test that gets given to random selection of kids around the entire country in large school districts, small districts, states, and so on. And they combine scores together. No one kid takes the whole test. It's actually a very interesting test the way they do it. It's not a high stakes test. It doesn't say you're going to get into something or not. But it's just a statistical way to measure the reading levels, the math levels, and they've been recently doing science levels as well around the U.S. They then equate these scores to the international scores, where you've seen where we fall in the, the international rankings. So it's just a way to look at how our country is doing.
Okay. And so you can see that spending is down around 5,000 to 6,000 up to 24,000. So that's a pretty wide range, and there's a fairly wide range of scores here. Although the interesting thing about the NAEP test is nobody really knows what a score means. Like you say, yeah, I got a score of 228. It's like, what does that mean? I don't know. As far as I can tell, nobody knows.
Well, except they've
defined. Right.
I'll get to talk about it.
Well, I will in a moment.
Okay. Right.
So, anyway, so there are 4 things that I would like you to pay attention to. One is, this is just almost a random scatter graph. There's no correlation here at all, and you could sort of demonstrate that by looking at, you look at this horizontal rectangle, and we see that there's a bunch of states here that are getting about the same scores, and they're spending wildly different amounts of money. Okay? And in this rectangle, we have states who are spending about the same amount of money and getting pretty much as much variation in scores as you can get. Okay? So money apparently has nothing to do, the amount of money you're spending apparently has nothing to do with the quality of the education that the kids are getting. Yes?
just to help me out, that's partly my eyes, I'm sure,
Mhm.
and the yellow wall
Yeah.
and the bumps and a few other things. I'm having trouble, just give me the two graph coordinates. So you got the horizontal is what?
Horizontal is the money spent
Okay, and what
per
what are
student per year.
and what are the amounts that I can't
So they go from around 5,000 to 6,000 up to around 24,000.
Okay.
So Alaska and New York are spending a ton of money.
Okay, how about the vertical?
So this is NAEP scores, which are going from 200 to about 230. Okay, and like I said, that
Okay.
it's sort of like the SAT score. It's like nobody
It's
really
a
knows what it
relative
means.
measure.
And that's out of 500, by the way, right? 500 is a theoretical maximum score. Nobody's even close to it. So the first two things to notice are money apparently has nothing to do with how well the kids are doing, okay? The third thing to notice is, so here's New Hampshire, here's Kentucky, here's New Jersey, and I marked those states. Kentucky and New Jersey, in Valinsky's presentations, he cites them specifically as states that have fixed the problem. But when I look at this, I cannot for the life of me figure out what problem they could have fixed where they would both represent a solution. The best part of the graph, though, is here's a red line across the top. This represents, as well as anybody can tell, what a passing score for a state would be. So it's interesting to notice that every state is failing. New Hampshire, although it's near the top of the heap, is only a little less badly than other states. So the takeaway from this, though, is basically how much money is the right amount? That's the wrong question. The answer doesn't even matter. And so the important thing to know about that is even the right answer to the wrong question is still the wrong answer. Okay? So this takes us to the third graph. So this, what are we looking at? This is spending. It goes from around 5,000 up to 20 something. These numbers up here are, you have all the districts in the state. They're not all showing up, obviously, but all the districts in the state, alphabetically sorted, and this is the amount of money that they're spending per student per year. Okay?
Recently, what year?
Recently, I think 2016. All right. This is the same districts, same spending, adjusted for inflation. So these are directly comparable. This isn't just over 20 years. This is from 1998, just before Claremont. Okay, and so you look at this, and so one of the things that's being claimed is, well, Claremont didn't change anything. It's like, really? No, it changed quite a lot. On average, a district is now spending $10,000 more per student per year, and as we saw, getting nothing for it. To me, the most interesting thing about this graph is this red line, okay? Because except for one exception over here, which is Waterville Valley, which I think spends around $1 million per student or something.
It's a little exaggerated.
Yes. With the exception of that, every district is now spending more than even the richest districts. And again, adjusted for inflation, every district is now a rich district. Okay? If money was the issue, if spending more money was the thing that was keeping kids from learning, we should all be doing fabulously by now. And yet, not so much. So, this is part of tonight's message is, this is the result of the last crusade that we had to reform school spending. You go to court, the court turns the Constitution upside down. They, basically say the right that it says exists doesn't exist. We'll invent a new right and a new responsibility, and we'll force the state to start making mandates and playing with tax structures. And this is the result, okay? Costs go way up, achievement stays the same. So the question that people really need to be asking themselves, I think, is, this is what the last crusade cost. What's the next one going to cost? Okay, and can we afford it? And to me, the answer is clearly no. Everybody has to decide for themselves.